Who calls the shots in your relationship? Who makes the big decisions? How do you divide up your chores, those household responsibilities? Now, how you answer these questions is going to have a big impact on the quality of your relationship, the kind and the amount of conflict that you have with your partner, and even the quality of your sex life. I'm Michael Clark with the Ananias Foundation, and we're going to talk about this question of who calls the shots in your relationship. Stay tuned. If you want to stop causing harm in your relationships, you're on the right path. This is Journey of Change, a video series to help you become the safe, loving partner you were meant to be. Let's start off this discussion by talking about and giving you some examples of what unequal decision-making might look like. Jen spends $300 on groceries each week on a joint credit card, but she won't let her husband see the receipts. When he asks her to spend less, she refuses, saying it's not his concern. Adam accepts a new job that will require him and his wife to move to another city without talking to her first. Sherry comes off of birth control without talking it through with her boyfriend. Steve lives with his parents and does all of the cooking. He decides to put them on a special diet despite the fact that this may cause problems for his diabetic father. Laura refuses to let her partner do an evening course, even hiding her bus pass so she can't go. Felicity's boyfriend is looking for a job. When she suggests he take one at her company, he says he doesn't want to work there. She thinks it'll be good for him, so she submits his resume anyway. John's partner has been prescribed antidepressants, but John disagrees with using them, so he flushes them down the toilet. As you listen to this list, hopefully you can see that unequal decision-making can affect all aspects of life, and to varying degrees. Some of these examples are mildly annoying, with our partner overstepping our bounds. Others are major life decisions, and quite honestly, are so damaging that we would consider those to be abusive. What all of these have in common, however, is that one partner is making a decision and taking action that is affecting another partner without taking into account their wants, their needs, their desires, without soliciting their input and giving them a role in that decision-making process. Now, when this happens, we do damage to our relationships, and we do damage to the person who is left without that voice, without the say. The same is true when we're talking about division of responsibilities. You know, there are a certain number of chores that every household has. Cooking, cleaning, shopping for groceries, taking care of the kids if you have kids at home. All of these things are maintenance items that people need to do. Be careful you're not just assuming that it's your partner's responsibility. It's okay to ask your partner for help if they've assumed that it's your responsibility. These are items that should be talked about, should be agreed upon, and if they're not agreed upon, then they should be shared. There's nothing saying that it's the woman's job to do this or it's the man's job to do this other thing. Those gender roles are inefficient, they're ineffective, and oftentimes we have very different interpretations from our partner as to what those should be. So be sure that you're talking about those shared responsibilities. So why do we do this? Why do we take over making decisions for our partner that really are not within our bounds of making? Well, for some of us, it really goes back to our belief system. And this is a belief system that perhaps formed in our childhood based on our culture or religious beliefs of our family. Let me give you some examples. As head of the household, the man makes the decisions. Or, women have domain over all domestic things like the home and children. Or whoever brings home the bacon gets to call the shots. Or the elders in the family have the final say. Now, for others of us, the beliefs really are more along the lines of, I can't trust my partner, or I'm really going to make a better decision than my partner. And oftentimes what underlies that belief is a fear that other people can't be trusted, or that we have to be in control to be okay. So how does unequal decision making hurt? For our partner, they're likely to feel upset for being left out, for not having a voice in that decision. That's going to create a lot of conflict. Over time, they're likely to start feeling resentful. And having a partner that becomes resentful of us in a relationship is certainly not the kind of relationship that most of us want. What it does is it gives them this loss of autonomy, this sense of being able to have a say in what goes on in their life. And that's ultimately harmful to anybody that's in a relationship. Now, even for us, it's harmful. We really miss out on getting the perspective from our partner. The old saying that two heads are better than one really is true. When we include our partner, we gain their perspective, we gain their ideas, we gain their help, which can take off some of the burden, some of the responsibility of making the decisions and implementing those decisions. When we get buy-in and input and include our partner on those decisions. So how do we get better at making decisions with our partner as a team? Well, the first step is what we've already talked about. Identify any areas, any beliefs that you have that might be getting in the way. If you have rigid ideas of who should make what decision, see if you can relax those ideas and generate more flexibility, more inclusivity. A second way that we can make better decision-making partners is to change how we view differences. Decision-making is difficult. It takes time. It takes communication. And just knowing that it's going to take some back and forth with your partner to understand their perspective, to communicate yours, to come up with ideas, and to get to a good resolution. Just set your expectation that that's going to be part of the process, and that you all are not going to agree all the time. And so there will be some issues that you'll have to work through. Don't shy away from those. Those aren't bad things. They're productive, healthy things that should be happening in your decision making. Thirdly, build a strong decision-making process with your partner. Do your research, gather the information and the facts, and use that rather than just your emotional feel for making a good decision. Check in with your partner. After you've made a decision, check back with them to see whether they've had other thoughts, other considerations, and how they're feeling about that decision. Allow yourself to change your mind. That's part of this negotiation and fact gathering, is that we're open to the ideas, we're open to the information, and ultimately what counts is not whether we got our way, but whether or not we made the best decision possible. Fourth, divide and conquer. Not every decision needs to be made by committee. For example, my wife and I have a personal spending limit that if I'm spending less than that, I don't have to ask her. And if she's spending less than that, she doesn't have to ask me. It's silly to think that we have to check with every decision, especially on the small ones. So negotiate that, talk about that, and agree on what's okay for you to decide on your own and what do we need to talk about together. Now, it's also okay to each of you have your area of expertise, your areas of interest, and perhaps that means that's your domain to make decisions. Again, as long as you've talked about it, as long as you've agreed upon it. For example, things that happen out in the yard, in the lawn, are sort of my domain. My wife has input, but ultimately I'm responsible and I make the final decisions on that. Now, when it comes to home decor, my wife is much better at that, and so I let her ultimately make the decisions. Again, I know she'll take my input, but she's ultimately responsible for those decisions. Now, this only works on the small stuff. If you have a big major life decision, both of you need to be involved in that. And it only works if you've already talked about and agreed upon what those areas are, what those lines are of what is yours and what's mine, and what the limits are on our ability to make a unilateral decision. I hope this discussion about decision making and equality in decision making is helpful to you. It really does make a difference in the quality of our relationships and the happiness that our partner has, and ultimately that we have in our satisfaction with our relationship. I'm Michael Clark with the Ananias Foundation, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me today. I'm honored to be on this journey of change with you, and I hope I've helped you in some way. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to hit the like button, share this with others who might find it helpful, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future videos. For more resources, head to our website, ananiasfoundation.org. Until next time, take care and remember, change is possible.